Okay, I'm recording. I want to make this brief because I have a short attention span. Hello, greetings from snowy Wisconsin. It is November 6th and it is snowing like crazy and there's still leaves on the trees and it's like really wacky outside. So I'm in my cozy basement and I just want to give y'all an update. So on Monday, I woke up knowing that an article in my local newspaper was going to be published about the policy and practice of shunning within the Jehovah's Witness organization. Why did I decide to share my story with a newspaper? Rewind a couple months ago when I had been invited to my judicial, non-judicial meeting, which if you scroll through the previous videos, I did record that. This, I guess you could say, righteous indignation rose within me. My liver energy was like, enough. It's a form of bullying. And I guess because I had been bullied throughout elementary, middle, and high school, I've reached that threshold now as an adult that I will not tolerate being bullied. I will call out that behavior with always having the hope of reconciliation. Long story short, I reached out to a couple news stations and my local newspaper, and I just left a message on her voicemail briefly summarizing like what was going on, thinking, they're not going to care. Like they're just going to think, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. This is just a weird religion. And if they want to shun people, that's their prerogative. I was pleasantly surprised when she called me back. The reporter's name is Diana. She called me back and set up a time to have an interview with me. And this is how the process works whenever you share your story with a media outlet. You give up all control. And as a recovering control freak, that whole process was a little scary because you are just hoping that your story and your message is clearly communicated to the journalist or the reporter, because you don't get to write your own story. You simply speak your story, share your story. They gather the information. They interview the other side, and an article is born. So I did not get to be part of any of the editing process. I did not get to review the story before it was released. It was like, okay, I hope that I was clear in my communication. And I'm thankful that she put as much effort as she did into this. She interviewed multiple people for this story, and the outpouring of support has been appreciated and surprising also. So I just want to read a couple blurbs. It's a rather long story. It's digital. It wasn't in like news. It wasn't in paper print. It's digital. So I will put the link below in the description if you care to read the whole story. And also huge thank you to some other disassociated ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who participated in this story as well. Lee Evans, thank you. Cindee Wright, thank you. And Michael Shemwell, thank you for all of you taking the time to answer her questions and just give more clarity, because this is the thing that happens. It's easy to see a person like me who says, oh, I'm shunned by my friends and family, and an outsider could be looking in thinking, oh, wah, this is just a random person airing her own personal dirty laundry, seeking sympathy. That is not the case. This is what I've said to family members who do shun me now, because that has been the accusation. You're doing this for attention. You're doing this to feel popular, and you're doing this for selfish reasons. It's like, no, I'm not. It's because this is about harmful policies and practices that affect across the globe, tearing up families, and it needs to be talked about. And it's, all you have to do is go on XJW Reddit or many other places online and read the stories. It's like, how many thousands of stories do you need to see to verify that shunning is real? Shunning hurts people. It fractures families, marriages, relationships, friendships. It's destructive. And it's a tool that this organization and others use to silence dissenters, keep their members in the cage, because they also don't want to experience the effects of shunning. So I'm just going to read a couple blurbs from this article that I thought kind of hit the nail on the head. And she also interviewed a religion studies expert at the university in Madison, Wisconsin, and he shared some thoughts. And she interviewed Robert Hendriks, media spokesman for JW.org. He is stationed at headquarters in New York. And mostly I'm going to read his quotes, and we'll see who's telling the truth. Under the subheading, We Don't Shun. While Bautista, that's me, and many people on YouTube describe their experiences being shunned by their Jehovah's Witness communities, Hendriks, the church's U.S. spokesman, said, "Shunning isn't part of the religion." "We don't shun," Hendriks said. "Shunning would be cutting someone off and pretending they don't exist. That's just not the case." Elders are encouraged to stay in touch with disfellowship people and approach them if they see them in public or at meetings, Hendriks said. Disfellowshipping, he said, is an act of love and considered a form of shepherding. Bautista said elders had minimal contact with her, mostly related to her efforts to be reinstated. This is back when I was disfellowshipped in 2003 for 18 months. When she saw them in public, she said they wouldn't acknowledge her. And that's the truth. I would see them at the grocery store and they would literally either look right through me as if I were a ghost and didn't exist, or they would not make any eye contact. So I don't think Hendriks is living in reality. He continues, other than elders, members aren't instructed on how to treat disfellowship people, Hendriks said. Everybody makes their own decision, he said. Okay. He continues saying, the thing that we want most is for that person to come back, Hendriks said. He isn't aware of any statistics on how often people are disfellowshipped, he said, but in his experience, it's been an infrequent occurrence, with some congregations going years without it happening. Steve Knowles, a witness for 45 years and an elder at the Sheboygan congregation to which Bautista used to belong, doesn't have an issue with the word shunning. Those who are disfellowshipped are just that. They're not fellowshipping, he said. The shunning happens because witnesses don't want to associate with people who aren't living up to the standard they set, he said. Part of it is natural. The person is no longer coming to meetings, so some members just don't see them anymore. That is so sugar-coated. I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm really trying to just compose myself, because what I read was just a bunch of lies, which, if you are being shunned, you can relate. And if you're a Jehovah's Witness, this is my challenge to you. Here we have direct quotes from media spokesman Robert Hendriks. And if you go back a few videos of mine, I had a 30-minute phone conversation with him where he says the exact same thing. Oh, we don't tell members to shun. It's a personal decision. Well, exercise your personal right and stop shunning your family. End of story. Just stop the shunning. Moving on to something that's, a little lighter. If you haven't ever gone on the Shunned podcast, it's an actual podcast, but also he has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. It's really cathartic listening to other people's stories. We recently went on a trip to Charlotte, North Carolina, which, by the way, hello to Mia T. Thank you so much for sharing your town with us, even though it was raining cats and dogs. And hello and hugs to Southern Boss Lady. It was such a joy and pleasure meeting you, and my husband and I had so much fun meeting you. And of course, hello to Beth and John Ledger. That was a highlight of the trip. And I'm trying to think if we met anybody. Oh, of course, my dear, dear friend from childhood. I had a reunion with a childhood friend who I shunned back in the day when I was a teenager. Like, I did it. I shunned people, and I feel horrible that I did it, and I am committed to, like, apologizing to every person I ever shunned, because I was under the influence of that indoctrination to engage in that inhumane behavior. So hello to Erica and her family. That was just such a great day, too. The point is when we were driving around, we were listening to the latest podcast with, I think his name is Daniel. It was a really great interview. And thank you so much for the work that you do, Michael. I'm just going to read like what the end of the article said. And this shout out goes to one of my best friends, and that's my mom. We weren't always best friends, but we're really close now. The article concludes, there has been a whole spectrum of emotion since Bautista, that's me, final separation from the Jehovah's Witness this summer. But in recounting the past couple of months, she emphasized the relief she feels and freedom she has. And I do. Like, if I could do anything over again, I personally would have just disassociated myself years ago when I first started realizing that there is no such thing as like a true religion. And being a member of a corporation that was a publishing company and now a real estate flipping company has nothing to do with worshiping God. That's just me. I understand the people who are PMOs, and my heart goes out to you. She, that's me, still loves many people in the congregation and likens the whole ordeal to a big battle where both sides lost. And ultimately, that is how I feel. Like, both sides lose. Like, I lose because I don't get people I love and my little brother in my life. And they lose too because they have to treat me this way. In happier news, the article continues, her mother, my mother, has kept their relationship and has also stopped going to witness meetings. Bautista's once detached relationship with her dad has improved. She said they've gotten to know each other better. And if you haven't watched some of my earlier videos, long story short, my dad woke up to this delusion. He's like the OG. He's the original gangster in my family because he realized it was not true in 1975. And then in the 80s, when Crisis of Conscience came out, he read it. But my dad's personality is such that he's like the most humble man I know on this planet, and he kept it to himself, and he let my mom raise my brother and I as Jehovah's Witnesses, and he just, kept his thoughts to himself and, let my mom do whatever she wanted. And meanwhile, I grew up as this super self-righteous little JW kid trying to get my dad back in the TRUTH, every memorial, like, are you coming to the memorial, Dad? Like, I was that daughter, and, I thought he was going to die at Armageddon, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but one of the greatest gifts of all of this is, like, having a relationship with my dad, being able to, like, have real conversations without trying to, convert him. Okay. The last paragraph in this article said, at her most devout, you might have met Bautista when she knocked on your door trying to start a conversation about the Bible. Now you might find her at a coffee shop, hanging out with her mom, or meeting new people of all faiths. And that's the end of the article. And there was lots of other things, but I specifically wanted to quote what Robert Hendriks said because I found it disgusting. So in other news, number one, I will be in Austin, Texas this weekend. So if y'all are going to see Lloyd and all of that, I'm excited to meet him because his videos helped me a lot as I was trying to untangle everything that was in my brain. I probably watched his 607-1914 video no less than 5 times, because for me that was like a really big deal. And the way he presented that information was so thoroughly researched and simple and easy to understand. And also his little mini documentary on the UN NGO situation, that also was super helpful to me, because those two things mattered to me when I was Jehovah's Witness. Like, yeah, so I'm really excited to meet him. If you're wondering why I'm wearing this weird shirt, it's because I'm Mexican at heart. Shout out, hello to my dear, dear friend in Costa Rica, because he makes fun of me for being so Mexican. Oh, and I guess the thing I'm going to end with, no doubt many of you can relate, especially if you're an activist and you have interactions and encounters with family and friends who are still in the organization and fully committed to the organization. I've noticed that those people, even though they're technically not supposed to speak to me, when they do, the interaction is very, and this is just me, maybe it's different for those of you who are watching, but for me, it's like I am such a easy welcomed target as a scapegoat for them to throw all of their hatred and negativity on me. And I have to just take a step back and realize that this person's mind is hijacked by the vocabulary and cadence and energy of the Watchtower organization. And so when I remind myself of that, it's easier for me to not take it personally. However, yesterday I was told that I am a tool of Satan. I was also told in like the same breath that while being a tool of Satan, I sound like an evangelical nut job. I was told to stop speaking with psychobabble, because I was trying to really listen to what this person was saying, and I was honoring their feelings. And when I used the word, I honor that you feel that way, this person got really upset, and they're like, oh, the psychobabble that you say, like, can't, so anyway, yeah, and then the person said that they weren't shunning me, they just didn't want me to be a part of their life whatsoever, because I'm a hateful person, and they didn't want my hateful energy in their life. And so I listened to this person's words, and although it certainly didn't feel good hearing it, oh boy, I'm already at 17 minutes, I apologize. It did not feel good hearing that. I let it land, and then I just said, I hope that time can heal these wounds, because I still care deeply for this person a lot. I will never stop loving this person. Ever. Yeah, so that's what's happening around here. I'm going to put the Twitter for this reporter's Twitter account in the description if you want to just send her a thank you. Because she didn't have to write this story. She spent months doing research, and I appreciate that. Because these are important stories, because they not only affect us, but they are going to continue to affect this next generation of JW children who are being raised in this. And the cycle will continue until it is exposed and talked about to the point where people are like, this is nonsense. Stop the shunning. I did talk at length with the reporter about the child abuse cover-ups and scandals, but she chose to just focus on the shunning aspect, which I get, she had to like pick and choose, because obviously the child sex abuse cover-up and what they're doing, with their lawyers, with their teams of lawyers, just trying to shut people down and not handing over this database of known pedophiles, is disturbing, to say the least. So I did talk about that at length with her, but she chose to not focus on that aspect in her story. So I hope y'all have a great week and weekend. And if you're in Austin, I will see you there and we can all have some brisket and go listen to some mariachi music. It'll make you happy. Okay. Shalom. Bye for now.